Hi, everybody, and welcome back. This is Synapse and Shadow, the podcast where science and sorcery meet, revealing the invisible threads that connect the cosmos to the self. I am your host, Tegan Luad. And today on episode 9, we're continuing our journey through the Hermetic laws, those ancient principles whispered through alchemical texts and modern mysticism alike. Today, we open the scroll on the second law, the principle of correspondence. You know the phrase, as above, so below? Where did that come from? It came from the Kabbalion. But what does it really mean? Is it just poetic metaphor, or does it hint at a profound symmetry built into the structure of reality? From fractals and fern leaves to the strange echoes of the holographic universe, from the calming scent of lavender to the crystalline shapes we hold during ritual, today we're diving into how the smallest reflection can illuminate the grandest design. And as always, we're not taking any of this at face value. We're exploring how modern science is starting to measure what witches, mystics, and magical thinkers have practiced for centuries. So let's begin where the sacred meets the structured. Let's begin with the roots. The principle of correspondence is perhaps the most quoted of the Hermetic laws. The term as above, so below comes directly from the Kabbalion, but over the years it has been expanded to as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. No one knows exactly who wrote the rest of the lines. No one is actually taking credit for it. But the principle of correspondence proposes that everything in the universe is connected through recurring patterns and mirrored structures. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm. The structure of the atom echoes the orbit of planets. The branching of our lungs mirror the limbs of trees. Even our own circulatory system resembles the complex networks of rivers moving water throughout the landscape. The processes within the self, our emotional, spiritual, and biological processes, mirror dynamics far beyond us. This idea isn't just poetic. It was a tool for ancient magicians. By studying the heavens, they believed they could understand the soul. By performing ritual gestures in one plane, through talismans, incantations, or prayers, they could influence outcomes on another. Magic was, in many ways, an early form of systems theory, an understanding that actions and energies ripple out in mirrored correspondence. These ancient ideas don't just sit in dusty grimoires. They show up with eerie resonance in the frameworks of modern physics and psychology. We're going to explore those parallels today, not as blind believers, but as seekers of pattern, meaning, and resonance. Because if there really is a grand symmetry woven into the structure of reality, maybe we've been walking through a hall of mirrors all along. And that brings us to our next stop, the sciences. Fractals, holograms, entangled particles. What does modern research tell us about the repeating nature of existence? If the ancients saw the divine mirrored in the stars, today's scientists might say They may have been poetic, but they're not wrong. Because when we look closely at the universe, we do see repeating patterns, not just visually, but structurally, mathematically, and energetically. Let's start with something simple and profound: fractals. These are self repeating patterns that show up at every scale. Think of a fern leaf or a snowflake, where smaller elements mirror the larger whole. As I mentioned before, the branching of your lungs or rivers viewed from the sky. Mathematician Benoit Mandelbrot gave us the term fractals in the 1970s, but the pattern itself is ancient. It's nature's favorite structure. It's efficient, beautiful, and recursive. In the Hermetic view, this is a perfect example of correspondence, the small echoing the vast, and in a very real way, it does. Now, if you zoom out farther to the holographic universe theory, of which I am very skeptical, this is where it gets truly wild. Some physicists, like Juan Maldacena, have proposed that the entire three-dimensional universe that we experience might actually be a projection from two-dimensional information which is encoded on the cosmic horizon. What does that mean practically? It means that each part of the universe contains the pattern of the whole universe, just like a hologram, where even a tiny shard reveals the full image. This is Hermeticism with a scientific backbone. The whole is reflected in the part. As above, so below becomes not just philosophy, but physics. You've heard me talk before about quantum entanglement, that eerie, instantaneous connection between particles no matter how far apart. I won't rehash all of it here, but the key idea still applies. At the smallest levels, the universe is connected in strange, invisible ways. Two particles become linked, and changing one affects the other, even across vast distances. It defies our understanding of locality, but again, it aligns strangely with magical thinking. Connections across planes. Action here, effect there. These aren't proof of magic, but they resonate with the Hermetic imagination. They whisper to us, look closer. There is more going on than we understand. And if nature organizes itself this way, from neurons to nebula, it makes sense that early spiritual practitioners might have sensed those patterns too. Ritual, after all, is a kind of pattern recognition, a fractal of meaning. So if science is catching up to the idea that the universe is patterned, mirrored, and entangled, what does that mean for how we live, how we relate, and how we work magic? That's where we're headed next, into the world of inner mirrors and magical correspondences, not as superstition, but as meaningful maps of the human psyche and sensory system. If the cosmos is written in repeating patterns, the work of the witch is to read them, respond to them, and sometimes rewrite them. This is where magical correspondences come into play. The intuitive, symbolic links between colors, herbs, stones, emotions, planets, and elements. At first glance, these might look like a system of ancient superstitions: cinnamon for abundance, amethyst for calm, black candles for banishing. But when we really dig in, these links are rooted in sensory experience, ancestral knowledge, and something even deeper: resonance. Take rose quartz, for example. Its pale pink color is soothing. It's cool to the touch, softly radiant. Across cultures, the color pink evokes tenderness and connection. Color psychology shows that this hue calms the nervous system and lowers aggression. So when witches say that rose quartz promotes love and emotional healing, that's not just mystical, it's mirrored by how our brains and bodies respond. Another example, rosemary. It's long been used for remembrance at gravesides, in spell work, and in the kitchen. Modern research has shown that rosemary's aroma can enhance memory retention. It literally sharpens the mind, echoing an intuition witches have had for centuries. What we're seeing here isn't just a placebo. It's a layered system where symbol, substance, and sensation all correspond to the same energetic or emotional aim. That's not superstition. That's pattern recognition at a biological and cultural level. In fact, magical correspondences act as a ritual language, one that speaks to the subconscious, the senses, and the symbolic mind all at once. And science is increasingly validating the power of symbolism and intention in shaping behavior, perception, even physiology. So when we choose an herb or a stone or a color for our spell work, we're not just decorating, we're entering into a dialogue with that web of connections. We're tuning into a resonance that may be subtle but very real. Magical thinking then becomes a form of engagement with the unseen architecture of meaning, and correspondences are the grammar of that engagement. So, whether you're lighting a green candle to attract abundance or stirring cinnamon into your coffee with whispered intention, remember you're working with a pattern, and the universe is listening in symbols. So let's bring this principle home into your hands, your rituals, and your daily life. The principle of correspondence isn't just a cosmic idea, it's a practical tool. If as above, so below is true, then every small act you take can echo into larger realms, and every symbol you use can anchor you into the greater web of connection. Let's start with something simple. Look at your altar. Whether you've built one or not, think about how you already arrange your space with meaning. The candle you light when meditating, the cup of tea you brew with care. These are correspondences in motion, intentional alignments between object and outcome. And here are a few ways you can work with this consciously. Choose herbs and oils not just for scent or tradition, but for the way they make you feel. Lavender calms, cinnamon energizes. This is both magic and sensory psychology. You can align spell work with astrological transits or moon phases, not because the stars control us, but because aligning intention with celestial rhythms amplifies meaning and personal resonance. Use color intentionally. If you need clarity, try white or light blue. Protection, black or deep purple. These aren't rules, they're invitations. Color psychology and magical tradition overlap beautifully here. Also, incorporate mirror rituals, literal or metaphorical. Journal on what in your life reflects your internal world. Light a candle and ask, what in me does this flame represent? Correspondence doesn't demand perfection, it asks for awareness, for seeing the threads between the outer world and your inner life and weaving with them rather than against them. And remember, your intuition is part of the system. If a stone you're drawn to doesn't match the book's correspondence, go with your resonance. You are not separate from the pattern, you are the pattern. So, light that candle, brew that potion, whisper your intention into your tea. Not because the act alone will change the world, but because in doing so, you align yourself with it. As within, so without. As you act, so you become. So here we are. Threads gathered, patterns revealed. The principle of correspondence teaches that the universe doesn't just operate in parts, it speaks in reflections, in echoes, in sacred geometry. And as magical practitioners, as thinkers, as feelers, we're not just observing those patterns, we're participating in them. Every time you light a candle, whisper a charm, or stir your intention into a brew, you're entering into dialogue with the cosmos. You're saying, I see the pattern, I trust it, I co-create with it. Whether through science or sorcery, the same truth keeps revealing itself. What's within us shows up around us. What we hold, we project. And when we act with purpose, the pattern responds. So this week, take a moment. Notice the correspondences in your own life. Which outer patterns reflect your inner world? Which tools help you realign with your deeper self? And if you find yourself feeling off course, remember, you don't need to fix the whole cosmos. You only need to adjust one small thread, and the rest will ripple outward. In our next episode, we'll dive into the principle of vibration and explore how everything in the universe moves, vibrates, and resonates, including us. So if you'd like to keep the thread of the conversation going between episodes, you can subscribe to my Substack at witchmarked.substack.com. And that's witchmarked.substack.com. That's where I share episode updates, behind the scene thoughts, a few other extra magical musings, as well as information on my forthcoming fiction novels and the writing process, as well as other, recommended reading. Until then, may your magic be intentional, your symbols speak truth, and may you continue to dance between worlds.